You're now enrolled in the school of Black Negro Jitsu. Is it your first day? Don't worry. The master, LeRoiStephon, and his co-instructors, David, Mike, will take it easy on you, rookie. Before we get into this podcast, big shout out to our sponsor, Ball Club Box at ballclubbox.com. Ball Club Box is a sports apparel provider that provides their subscribers with monthly gift boxes full of quality licensed sports merchandise that reflects their customer support for their team. Usually these items only appear at specific stadiums or sports stores, but they intend to make it easier to customers to support their desired franchise without leaving their homes, and in some cases state by offering this subscription service. You pick the teams, they pick the items and send them to you each month. There's 3 different boxes. You got the club box, $55 for $75 worth of apparel. The executive club box, $75 for $125 worth of apparel. And the ball club season pass. That's the deal right there. That's $150 for 3 $75 boxes worth $125 each. That's $375 worth of stuff. That's $225 more than you paid. Ballclubbox.com. Go check it out. I'm telling you, they're the shiz. Also, do me a favor. Go check out Kobe's Corner. That's Kobe with a K. Corner with a K. I hope there's not another K. But go check out Kobe's Corner on YouTube. Also, go check out Kobe'sCorner.com. That's 2 Ks. I'm a writer for the site. Kobe did the intro. Good friend of mine. Great YouTube channel. Analysis, breakdown of fights. Of course, articles by me and other MMA journalists, podcasters, whatnot. Kobe's Corner, man. Go check it out. One of the fastest growing YouTube channels for MMA and one of the best online. Class is officially in session, guys. Welcome to the School of Black Negro Jitsu, Class 6. I'm your host, the master of Black Negro Jitsu, LeRoiStephon. I'm here with my co-instructors. First off, Mike from Mike's MMA Picks. What's up, Mike?
Feeling great, LeRoy and Dave. Feels good to be back. Tough break, though, we got coming up in the next few weeks.
Yes, from a DraftKings perspective. And my other co-instructor, also from the New York area, Dave Margulis. Dave Mark, what's good?
What's up, LeRoy? What's up, Mike? Good to be back. After a brief hiatus due to illness, it's really good to join you guys for some nice conversation and, some good takes on all that's going on in the world of combat sports.
That's awesome. Today on tap, what do we have for you? We're going to be talking UFC Fight Night 114. We're going to get into that recap. We're going to talk about all the controversy surrounding Pauli Malinaggi and Conor McGregor. Is Pauli Malinaggi black or is he white? No, I'm just kidding. We're going to be talking about him in the camp and what's going on. Is it a work or is it real? We're going to be talking about the Titty Exclusion proposed by Full-Time MMA. Should women have different set of rules for weigh-ins in the light of Alexa Grasso missing her weight this past weekend? PVZ versus Jessica I at flyweight. We're also going to be talking Frank Mir claiming that John Jones probably would beat Miocic or Overeem. We've got an interview with Michel Capo Quinones. We also got an analysis of a certain revelation that Quinones made during the interviews, or Michel Capo Quinones, from Dr. Yared Vasquez. He's going to be on talking about what happened to Quinones. Of course, you can look below. Our timestamps are below. But let's get right into this podcast. UFC Fight Night 114 recap tied the record for most first round finishes, and it was therefore an extraordinarily exciting card. Wish it wasn't on Fox for this reason, because with so many first round finishes, we had big gaps in between fights. Jordan Rinaldi got a really sloppy win versus Alvaro Herrero, in which he was almost finished. Roberto Sanchez dropped the fight to Joseph Morales after being dropped. He was controlling the fight, winning, controlling the grappling, got dropped with one punch, first round finish. Jose Alberto Quinones went to a decision with Diego Rivas. Ronnie Yaya got a Kimura on Enrique Briones. Dustin Ortiz put Hector Sandoval away within the first round. Jack Hermanson put Brad Scott away within the first round. Alejandro Perez just about got put away during the first round, but Andre Sukumtad not being out in the altitude to train really hurt him. He wasn't able to finish the fight strong and lost the decision. Do you guys think that was a controversial decision? I think on the 10-point month system, I guess Perez had a strong case for a win, but when you get dropped 3 times in a fight, and you get your face busted up like that, did you really win the fight?
Yeah, I thought he got a raw deal. I got to be honest. I mean, he's getting some hate for the taunting, but he did drop him 3 times. And that should count for something. Perez hung in there. You got some home cooking, and Sukumtop got a raw deal.
Dave, what do you think?
So, LaRoy, Mike, I only got to catch the Grasso fight and the main event, the Pettis Moreno fight. I did see that Sukumov lost that decision. I thought it was a little funky because I was actually out and I was checking the DraftKings scoring. I did see he got 3 knockdowns. I'm just gonna, before being able to rewatch the fight and listen to what you guys have to say, I'm gonna assume that Perez did get some home cooking because it seemed like not to segue, but it seemed like Grasso got a little bit of home cooking in the fight. Where I think Randa Marcos, I don't want to say handily won, but I think she kind of clearly won in my opinion. So, it's not unusual to see a lot of home cooking in the UFC, and from the looks of it, from the thoughts that I've seen on Twitter, it seems like Perez did get a little bit of home cooking in that decision.
Well, Sukumtop, he was pacing himself, and it seemed like he was trying to disguise his lack of stamina. Did he seem like he was gassing to you, LaRoy?
He didn't seem like he was gassing, but he was definitely aware of the realities of the fact that he couldn't really. Well, he always fights like that too, so maybe that's just who he is. But it seemed like he was trying to reserve energy and make sure he could be around for the third, which he was. But if he would have been in the altitude, I think he wins that fight easily.
Oh, 100%. And something that disturbed me, he came on Twitter and said that he wasn't showboating. How is that? I don't see what is his definition of showboating. If he's shaking his head, if he's making gestures with his fingers,
I think that was just smiling. His confidence. He's habitually very low output. But being in that altitude, yeah, you got to be careful. So I don't think he was trying to gas, which he was getting tired going in that third round, but he was pacing himself well. He worked the best he could with what he had, but you got to be out there early if you want to win.
Did you expect more knees out of him?
I thought he looked impressive, man. I mean, he just didn't have a lot of energy to spend. That's all. Next fight up though, Sam Alvey,
Rashad.
Sam Alvey, how do I describe this? He was awarded a win from the judges over Rashad Evans, but I don't really know who won that fight. It was so much garbage. Trash, don't watch it. Terrible fight. Horrible.
Oh man, that was what I don't
worst
understand
fight of the
is
year possibly.
Why is Alvey gritting his teeth and trying to walk Rashad down when Rashad's not throwing anything back at him? That's the thing I don't understand. I mean, was he waiting? What was his goal? His wife was sitting there screaming at him, telling him we need more output. And he does it again and again and again, which really makes me wonder, when these fighters, when they come into the octagon, do they watch their previous fights? Do they realize that they get stuck in these habits where, they're not in fan-friendly fights? And what was Alvey's goal, really?
That's who he is, man. You can't change who you are. Rashad Evans need to retire. I mean,
I was just going to say, when the fuck is he going to retire?
There's no way that Rashad Evans, I know, would have dropped decisions to Dan Kelly and Sam Alvey. Lord help us. Jesus. Rashad, just hang it up. This isn't who you are. But the fight, I think he wants to go out on a win. I think he wants to win and then retire. So,
and just to think about it, I mean, he spent how many weeks in Frankie Edgar's dad's basement, supposedly, and made the move to Mark Henry. And imagine how frustrating that must be to be Mark Henry, have in your corner and telling Rashad to pull the trigger, and he just doesn't do it. And then he was going for takedowns early. I understand that game plan, but when that stopped working, he had no plan B. And you spend months coming up with this game plan. He hasn't fought in months.
He doesn't have it anymore. That's just the bottom line. He doesn't have it anymore. That's the bottom line. Dave, anything to add to that?
Just I agree. Like in his prime, he was a fighter that I used to love watching fight. And after all the surgeries and everything, and that horrible decision loss to like that awful fight against Dan Kelly, and from the looks of it, this awful fight, I saw some of the replays afterwards, like post fight, and it just looked ugly. And it's just I think I'm with Mike here, where I think he just wants to go out with a win, but I think he just. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's ego or what, but I think he's got to hang it up, man. His best days are behind him, and it's sad to say, but it's the truth.
How do you win a fight if you don't throw any punches?
You got to just.
He did land one in the third.
He's just deteriorating like old fighters do, man. They stop throwing punches. They stop being active. They're not as... And I don't know if they can anymore. I think their reflexes have been damaged for years of punishment. It's just typical of a shot fighter. Hopefully they give him a can, somebody who really, really sucks, so he can win, bring back... Well, I don't think he could beat Cathal Pinchard at this point. But
did you see Vitor called out Alvey? That happened today.
Vitor Belfort would smash Sam Alvey. Even Elder Belfort would smash Alvey. Alvey's just not on his level. Next fight up. Enough talk about that garbage. Martin Bravo got slizzed by Humberto Bandenet. God. I mean, all Bandenet pretty much had is those kicks when I was watching film and he was getting hurt. I was like, all right. I think he could win because this is one of those tough level fights and you never know. But I think Bravo's got this right. All he's got is those kicks and wham! Good night. Sleep tight. Martin Bravo. One of the most brutal finishes of the year.
Oh, yeah. I tweeted out, get those medics in quick. That was bad. That was bad.
Man, they had to scrape him up off the mat. Jesus. That was terrible. Absolutely brutal. And then what ruined my DraftKings night was this Alan Juban versus Nico Price. Damn it, Alan, I believed in you. I picked against Allen all throughout his first couple UFC fights. He has no chin. He's gonna get KO'd. He has no, and he would stick through it. And I've eventually figured him out. And it's like if he's not facing an elite striker, he should be good to go. And here comes Nico Price with his one-dimensional game, taking out Alan Juban. I had 100% Alan Juban. I was that sure he was gonna win. What? Never again. I never used to do it in the past, but I stopped picking against him. Like, okay, this is the Juban spot. Unbelievable. Just slept him. Or was that an early stoppage? What do you guys think?
I thought it was an appropriate stoppage. And Nico, I was surprised at his length. I didn't pay attention to the reach, but it seemed like he was much longer than Juban. And much more aggressive. Although we didn't see the fight play out too long. Once it went to the ground, we know that Nico has a ground game. He could have finished Juban faster. I think that the refs, it was more of the judge or the ref it was more of a mercy stoppage than anything else.
My thing with this whole fight is if Mike Perry couldn't put Juban away, I absolutely knew Nico Price won't, and that's his only road to
That's
victory.
a great point.
He's not going to out-wrestle him. He's not going to out-technical him. How's he going to win? And he knocked him out. The one time I don't pick against Juban, it comes back to bizarre me. Next fight up, we got Alexa Grasso versus Randa Marcos. I didn't see the whole fight. How did I miss? I missed like a part. Like I don't even know how I missed a part of it. Maybe I forget what happened. But Alexa Grasso takes the split decision. I thought she won the third round. I don't know what happened in the first.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that fight?
I thought Marcos took the fight. I had a play on a few units on Grasso, and I was expecting her to lose when the decision was announced. She did get some home cooking, but this is a case where the judges seem to favor her striking and also her. She was just refusing to be held down. Grasso. She was escaping and transitioning out of Marcos's guard. So what did you think, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, I don't think it was like a heinous robbery. I think Marcos won, but you could see how they could kind of award it for Grasso because Marcos, I think, had more takedowns if I'm not mistaken, but she couldn't really do anything with those takedowns. It was like any one of those takedowns, Grasso would get back to the feet really quickly. I think she definitely had more of the striking output. Like I said, it's not like a highway robbery. I think Marcos won, but you could kind of see how they might have given it to Grasso, especially in Mexico. So I wasn't too upset with the decision.
Mm-hmm. I was impressed with Grasso's resiliency. There were many times. I think I counted 3 times that she could have checked out of the fight and either given up her back or just folded under pressure, and she kept going, and she had a lot more energy than I think some people thought she would have, considering she was on antibiotics and wasn't feeling well.
Yeah, Randa Marcos loses another Randa Marcos type fight where if Randa Marcos probably would have focused just a hair more, she probably would have won. But I mean, this is a good fight. Randa Marcos doesn't have anything to be ashamed of. Great fight.
Did you have either shares of either fighter on DraftKings, LeRoy?
I had shares of both. I added some late shares of Randa Marcos. Everything was perfect except that damn Alan Juban, and I didn't play Bandonnet because I was like, he looks so terrible on film. I'm gonna just play Scott Sandoval, and so I played all the good dogs except for Bandonnet and Price because I just like, yeah, they shouldn't win, and yeah. But I did have a lot of Sergio Pettis who won over Brandon Moreno. I started to like Sergio Pettis a lot late.
How about Morales? We didn't mention that fight also. He looked amazing.
Yes, I did. I just ran right through it.
Woo.
He looked like I thought he would, which his defensive wrestling is not good. Yeah, and I don't like that. He was getting out early. Yeah, he was getting out grappled, and he landed that punch and was able to end it. But I didn't like what I seen from him. If he faces most guys, I think he can beat them, but the strong wrestlers, I don't like him against. But Sergio Pettis looked awesome. He didn't get clipped. He's the much better striker. He's a good grappler. He was able to get out.
He survived that body lock, too, in the first round. He was stuck there for, I think, 3.5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it didn't. I mean, Moreno really didn't do anything with it, but
good head fighting by Pettis.
Yeah, Pettis is not the type of guy that's going to lose to a person that's not going to knock him out or that's not well-rounded, and Brandon Moreno is neither of those things. But first up here, past UFC Fight Night 114, as our guy from Full Time MMA called it, it's the Titty Exclusion. Basically what this is, he said, he took it to another extent. He was talking about how women should have exclusions based on their breast size. If they have big breasts for weigh-ins, they should be limited. And if they have small breasts or whatever, they should have a pound limit that they can come under. I think that's ridiculous. But one thing I think we all can agree on is this menstrual cycle, and that fighters that cut weight. Now, I'm not with the titty exclusion or women being given exceptions based on their womanly parts, but definitely the menstrual cycle. that could be a disastrous thing, in that you already in a tough weight cut and you happen to be on your period. That is just something I don't know how you would deal with that, because the weight cuts are so hard. Do you guys think that women, I'm gonna give my opinion first, should be given a pound exclusion or be given exceptions for their weigh-ins when they happen to be on their menstrual cycle at the same time? And I think the answer is yes, because it's very sad to see, and it's not the first time. It happened to Alexa Grasso this past weekend. Plus, she had a urinary tract infection on top of that. But it's sad to see a woman lose 20% of her purse, her fight purse, because of something that she can't control. And I know how hard it is to cut weight. Plus, on top of that, the cramping and bloating from a period. I think there needs to be some type of rule or exception where if a woman does have her menstrual cycle, she can come, the weight limit will change a pound or two. Because this has happened to Alexa Grasso, this happened to Chris Cyborg, where they've lost substantial amount of their purses because of their menstrual cycle and the complications of cutting weight on that. That must be a nightmare. I mean, men have trouble with it, and they don't have any menstrual cycle. What about women? Do you think there should be exceptions for them based on their the difference in their physical bodies? Mike,
Dave,
go.
Dave, want to take it first?
Yeah, I guess I'll start. I know that I'm not, the foremost expert on the women's menstrual cycle, but I do know that when a woman's menstruating or she's going through a menstrual cycle, that they usually bloat up and they balloon a few pounds. So I think you've got to give them some type of leeway. I think you've got to give them a few pounds, give or take, to basically, to give them a little bit of a cushion. I think that I once again I can't remember who, and it's escaping me now. There was a fighter. It was on the last card. It was a card prior to this one, where a fighter, I believe, missed weight and they ended up fighting at a catch weight. And I think you've got to do something along that sort. And I know I keep preaching this. I think there has to be more things done in the UFC with catch weights.
Was it Calvillo?
I don't believe it was Calvillo. It was last week. I believe it was a men's fight. It was on the prelims to.
You talking about Henry Morale versus Aljamain?
Yes, Aljamain. Exactly. Yes, that was the fight where they ended up. I think Henan missed weight and they ended up fighting at a catch weight or something along the lines.
It's just that he's missed so many times before
that they fought at the catch weight, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I think that they've got to start. I don't know why the UFC does not utilize this, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. I've said it on, I think every damn near every podcast that we've had that I've been on, with the exclusion of last week that I missed. There's got to be something done with catch weight in the UFC. I don't know why the hell it's not being done. You've got so much going on, especially in the women's, in like all the women's divisions, where I think you could get a lot of good fights at catch weights, which would draw in a lot more fans. But then again, this argument will come back full circle, and I'm going to stop myself short so I can let Mike speak. But once again, I think it's WME IMG Group just doing quantity over quality as always. And I think
that's more of a commission thing, though, where the state should probably have something in place where if a woman is having a menstrual cycle, she can get a couple pound exception and they fight at a catch weight. I think that would be fair for both parties.
Calderwood was the last chick to miss weight, and she, men and women, they're different, and we try to put everything on an even playing field, but I don't think weight cutting when you're on your period is safe or fair. And you're right, Laura, 20%, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money when you're only making 10 to show and 10 to win. That's ridiculous for something you can't even control.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That needs to
I
be
just want to know.
I know it's so unique that nobody's probably thinking about it, but
then the problem is too, how are women gonna exploit that rule? Would people look to exploit something like that to get an extra couple of pounds?
If you're on your period, you should probably they should probably extend the weight by 2 to 5 pounds, unless it's like a championship fight, maybe. Something has to be done because this could be. I can see this happening in a championship fight and it being absolutely disastrous. So yeah, I think it need to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Hold up, I got some expert advice for you guys. Dr. Yared Vasquez, I know I told you I was bringing him in to discuss the Michel Capo Quinones situation, but while I was at it, I also got his input on females, weight cuts, the menstrual cycle, and how that affects your weight cut. What are the possible solutions to this? This is a very serious situation. I think that could lead to a female losing the title one day. How often has it come up in his experience on the regional scene? Let's get into Dr. Yared Vasquez's expert advice on the menstrual cycle, weight cuts, and females in fighting. We're welcoming back Yared Vasquez to the School of Black Negro Jitsu to address this issue with women weight cutting and their menstrual cycle. This past weekend, UFC Fight Night 114, Alexa Grasso missed weight because of her menstrual cycle and a urinary tract infection. Now, this really worried me because this isn't the first time in mixed martial arts history that a woman has missed weight due to her menstrual cycle. If you remember back, Chris Dean Santos Cyborg, or Chris Cyborg, the female Cyborg, not male Cyborg. If you guys even remember male Cyborg, but female Cyborg missed because of her period. And I heard one of my co-hosts say Joanne Carter would miss weight, and it might have been because of her menstrual cycle as well. Now, I think that maybe the state commissions need to start thinking about having a catch weight in place for women, because I figure one day a woman champion is going to be in a title fight. She's going to get in her menstrual cycle and she's going to miss weight because of something she can't control. Dr. Vasquez, what do you know about women weight cutting and how they prepare to get around their menstrual cycles and the bloating, cramping, and infections they face during that? Because honestly, if you miss weight for a title fight, okay, they're going to strip you of your title.
Absolutely.
And champions can be as responsible as they want and have done everything right, but when that menstrual cycle comes up and complications with that, there are gains in weight that happen. Like with Alexa Grasso, she got that urinary tract infection on top of her menstrual cycle that you just can't do anything about. How serious do you think that the menstrual cycle is to the typical fighter's weight cut? How would you advise women to deal with this? And do you think this is something that state commissions need to prepare for, so that a champion who has to make weight in order to fight for a title does not lose her title because of something that she can't control, her menstrual cycle?
Oh, absolutely. It plays a big role, Leroy. Women, we all know women are a beautiful, complex box of problems. And when there's a female fighter, you add that on top of that, and the complexity of their hormonal system is going to be a big influence in this. Every time our menstrual period comes, it's just a signal that, hey, you did not reproduce. We're going to shed the lining of the uterus and restart this. So that happens 12 times a year. And if you're a regular female with a regular period, if you're regular, even harder, even more difficult to predict. And with that comes the shedding of a lot of fluids, blood loss. Your hemoglobin, your iron levels are off the charts, up, down. I mean, you lose your blood. Some fatigue could be associated. Another episode we address cortisol. That's also happening in this scenario. And there's water retention. In terms of the intensity, it can affect, and there could be water retention upwards to 5 pounds. On the average, 5 pounds, that's a lot. So that's a lot.
Now repeat those complications again. So we got water retention, and what else?
We got water retention, of course. There's blood loss, which may differ from female to female, but it happens 12 times a year. So you have 12 episodes of blood loss that, if it's not accounted for, you're going to have fatigue. You're going to have reduction in your performance. So a professional fighter has to account for that and have their diet set up to replenish that iron, B12 as well. So if you don't do that, like sinusitis, it's all about prevention. If you know the risks that you're going to have, you manage them. So in terms of the menstrual period being a risk for misweight, absolutely 100%. If you calculate, if you have your fight date, if Alexa Grasso had her fight date, I'm going to fight calendar, and you know that you're around that 14th day, you're going to be, your period is going to be coming down pretty soon, and you're going to be retaining water. You account for that, right? You talk to the commission, you talk to USADA and say, hey, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to make weight. Might need a little bit of diuretics. So you account for that.
Oh, so you can get exceptions with USADA and the commission for diuretics when you're on your menstrual cycle?
I wouldn't vouch on that 100%, but I would say that could definitely be an option, because if you're tethering that line of making weight, which I'm with my opinion is the same as Joe Rogan's opinion. A lot of times, having the weight classes is that's strict. You have to be 1 pound above, 1 pound below.
Yes, and for a title fight, you have to make weight.
Exactly. So you have to have that caveat that you got to hit that mark. Then you got to let them know ahead of time to the commission and to the UFC and USADA, say, hey, I'm going to be on my period pretty soon. There's going to be a problem with weight. I guarantee you that if they have that information, they could scramble and think of a way to make this, even if it's more strict nutrition and more strict sodium control, and starting a responsible weight cut earlier in terms of fluid restriction. Mm-hmm. Then that's what you have to do.
Now, I don't have a menstrual cycle, but does it happen around the same time of the month? So if a fighter has a fight date, do they kind of know, oh, my menstrual cycle should be coming up around this time? Or is it random, kind of?
It's, it depends from female to female. That varies. As an internal, I've had experience in obstetrics and gynecology, and I've rotated in obstetric wards and I all the theory, but the difference is women to women. It changes a lot, and this has to do a lot with genetics. And but let's say that this is the optimal case. If you're a regular female and you have your cycle in most women, I would say maybe 60% of females, it's almost like a clock. You're going to start your menstrual period this day. You're going to end it that day. So yeah, it's something that if it's a regular menstrual cycle, absolutely, you can take account for it, and it shouldn't be a problem.
Huh? Have you ever seen this happen at one of your events with any female fighters where they're you don't have to mention any names, of course. I know that their privacy is of the as a physician, you have to keep that a whole. But has this ever been a thing that you've seen happen at an event where a female is having problems with her weight cut because the menstrual cycle has come up during the fight week?
During fight week, I've seen them struggle a little bit more with their weight cuts, and be a little bit more depleted, because cutting weight after a menstrual period, a lot of blood loss, and after the blood loss, you're cutting more fluids out of your system. I've seen them very depleted, but females are amazing in a sense that they rebound. Believe it or not, they rebound quicker than men in some instances, and to pain, their pain response is a lot better. So in terms of having them struggle completely and not be able to bounce back, I haven't had that situation happen. But you got to think there's another factor in there. These young ladies are young ladies. Most of them are trying not to have babies. So a lot of times they're taking birth control pills,
Right.
and that messes up that hormonal balance, and that affects. So there's so many variables going into the pot for
So
females to fight.
if you are on birth control, how does that affect your menstrual cycle? Do you like miss or what?
Oh, it depends. There's, dozens of preparations of birth control pills. The majority of them, if used correctly, would regularize your menstrual period, would make them more reliable, and in some instances, it just completely shuts out your menstrual cycle. So, absolutely.
Oh,
Sometimes it helps. Sometimes, yeah.
So a lot of birth control will completely shut out the menstrual cycle, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I'm
But
assuming a
it's
lot, and with the there, from my observation, now this is just my observation. A lot of mixed martial arts women, unlike other women's sports, they tend to be heterosexual. Surprisingly, I mean, Ronda Rousey was a heterosexual, Holly Holm. So they're probably, and they don't have kids. They're probably on birth
it's
control.
they have their absolutely, and their system. Sometimes when they're very in shape, you could have your menstrual cycle could just go away. And the more in shape you are, sometimes your menstrual period regularizes because your weight is down. That's why obesity sometimes when you're overweight, female, your menstrual is it's never regular. But it's there's always going to be that Alexa Grasso. There's always going to be that person that's a little bit irregular, that retains a little bit more fluid, and that the best that we could do there would be to acknowledge that, and to if you book her for a fight, say, hey, talk to the doctor at the UFC Performance Institute, and
So you think?
period,
Not to interrupt you, but do you think
no.
that the women need to be in communication with the promoter and the commission if any type of irregular activity is going on with their menstrual cycle? I think that a catch weight should be mandated for this type of situation. That would allow them to continue to fight, especially basically for a title fight. If this were to happen and the woman had and she had a urinary tract infection on top of that. Now, what would that be from? Could that be from just the menstrual cycle or just a million other things?
Oh, a million other things. In young women, usually it's secondary to intercourse, or just it could even be from workout clothes. They're rolling all the time. Mats are dirty. The female genitalia is more prone to infections because their urethra, the little tube where the urine comes out, is shorter. So it's a shorter distance for bacteria to travel up the bladder and cause problems. So could be for a million things. And again, you add that infection to the pot, it just adds more stress to the body. It's going to be more difficult to achieve that optimal weight cut.
That is excellent, Dr. Vasquez. Thanks for your input on this topic. We get a champion or something that has to, lose her belt because, her period came up. That would be crazy. But I wonder if this is happening in sports like boxing where women have been competing for a little longer, or at the Olympics. I just wonder how often current this is. I'm surprised I've never heard this come up. But anyway, on to the next thing here. We got the drama with Pauli Malinaggi and Conor McGregor. I think that I don't know how authentic this is because Malinaggi and McGregor were supposed to fight before, and now Malinaggi apparently decided no disclosure agreement, but he's disclosing so much from the camp, and it seems to me like maybe McGregor and Malinaggi are setting up some money for after the Mayweather fight, no matter how the Mayweather fight goes. This seems like a really good angle. I don't think this is real because I just don't. I just don't think this is authentic heat. I think that it's just it's staged. It has to be. All of this is playing out on TV, and they're supposed to have non-disclosure agreements in place. That doesn't make a lick of sense to me. Co-instructors, what do you guys think?
Did you guys have a chance to listen to the MMA Hour today?
I didn't yet.
I heard Paulie was on for 30 minutes, and I have a 9 to 5, so I wasn't able to listen to it. But I heard he kind of spilled his guts and was authentic. So that leads me to believe that this is a real beef. I don't know what to think of it, to be honest. You want my real honest perspective? I've tried to get caught up in this hype for this fight, and I cannot wait for that bell to ring and for these guys to meet at the center of the ring, and I want to see what happens. So I understand where Paulie's coming from. He's probably hurt. He probably didn't make much money in this sparring venture and got exploited. And hey, I'd be pissed too if people posted pics of me on the ground when I got shoved there out of frustration by Conor. I mean, do you believe that, or do you think he took a shot?
Nah, man, I think this is about some money. I think they're trying to set up a fight. Dave, what do you think?
So I think that it's definitely exploitation. I think I'm going to side with Mike here. I think it's definitely genuine. I don't know if Paulie was working Conor or if he actually did get knocked down. If anybody recalls, a few years ago, Paulie fought a glorified bar fighter by the name of Ricky Hatton, who was absolutely KO'd by Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao on separate occasions. And Ricky was just the thing with Paulie's a really good boxer. If you watch him fight, he's a really good boxer. Problem is, young age, he broke his hands, and supposedly getting punched by him is like getting punched by feather pillows. And Ricky Hatton was basically able to walk through his punches the entire time and just walk him down for the entire fight. I can't remember how that fight ended, whether it was a decision or a stoppage, with Hatton winning. I just to reiterate that, to go back to that, I think it could have either been Paulie was really just given kind of the works, and Conor's camp, did leak a photo of a shove that grounded Paulie in frustration, and that's what's pissing Paulie off. Or Conor might have just walked right through Paulie, absolutely abused him, whatever the case might be, and somebody from that camp leaked those photos to kind of, I think, stir a little bit more, to kind of create a little bit more of a hype train. So I think there's definitely a PR machine coming from Conor's side, and I think Paulie's justified in being angry, because I think he feels like he showed up and was going to be part of what seemed like a real training camp, and now is just a 3-ring circus.
And this is a huge distraction, too. What's going on in Mayweather's camp right now? Can someone tell me that?
I have no idea.
I don't think you're hearing a peep, and I think Mayweather is just – I think he's going to come to box, and I think he's just going to toy with Conor for about 12 rounds. In all honesty, I just can't wait for August 26th to end. I can't wait for the 27th, so this – spectacle is over, so this freak show is done with.
Okay. Let's go. Well, actually, I wanted to say, I think it's a work. I think it's Paulie is on the damn announcing team. You happen to just bring in one of the announcers to spar with you. This is a work, and if Conor McGregor does upset Pauli Malinaggi, where are we going from there? We're going right to Conor McGregor versus Pauli Malinaggi. I'm almost positive. I think this is all just PR, building hype, making sure the fight stays out there. It's real strange that an actual member of the Showtime team is who Conor crossed. So I don't know. But let's get to this interview with Michel Capo Quinones. We talk with him about his career and a very interesting tidbit about his fight versus Jared Gordon and a medical condition that he had. I think you'll all find very interesting. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to bring in Dr. Yared Vasquez to do an analysis on Capo Quinones' medical condition with his high blood sugar. So go ahead and check that out right now. Michel, Capo, Quinones, welcome to the School of Black Negro Jitsu. It is wonderful to have you here today. Just got off of a somewhat disappointing performance against Jared Gordon, but if you're not winning, you're learning. It's all good. Still got a hell of a promising future in my mind, which is why I brought you on the show today. But how are you doing today, man?
I appreciate that, man. Thank you for having me. Yeah, man, I just like we were just talking a couple minutes ago. I've been feeling under the weather. I got a stomach virus or something like that on Friday, but before then, I have like bad sinuses because I live in Florida. So like when it gets really humid, when it's about to rain or something like that, it affects the way I breathe, and I feel like I'm sick. And I'm really not sick, but my breathing is affected. I got a stuffy nose. Like all I want to do is just lay in bed. So yeah, that shit's it's pretty rough.
Now, so you're American top team. Amanda Nunes has problems with her sinuses. She's American top teams. Is this something that happens to you during like fight weeks, or is this only like? Is this like when does this usually happen? Because for her, usually she says it happens after she gets off the plane. So when she travels and gets off the plane, she usually has problems. What about you?
You know, I had no idea that she had that until I read the article about why she had to pull out from the fight. But you know what? I guess it depends on where you go. If I guess this is somewhere where it's really humid, it'll definitely affect you. At least in my case, like the humidity is what kills me. When the humidity changes in the air, that's when like I'll start sneezing like crazy for like 2 days. I'm like sneezing like crazy. I can't breathe. One of my nostrils closes up completely. It's just a horrible feeling, man. Like I feel like I'm sick and under the weather, but I guess I'm really not. And I'm assuming that fight week would take a big effect if you cut a lot of weight. Like that's how I cut a lot of weight. So if anything, it would affect me because my immune system is low and I'm not getting a lot of nutrition and vitamins. So I could understand if she goes through the same thing because I believe she cuts a lot of weight to make her weight. So I would assume it'd be the same thing.
Do you so you only had a problem with like changes in humidity, not like changes in like location. So if you go from Vegas or you go to Brazil and fight or something like that, no problem, right?
Yeah, it would have to be pretty much what the air is like there. You know what I'm saying?
Now, has that ever happened for you during the fight week?
Oh yeah. Because I mean, other than Oklahoma City and Dallas, I've always fought locally. It's always been in Florida, so. We get a lot of rain here year round, so it's like a hit or miss. I get it all the time. Actually, was it my last fight? No, not my last fight, but the fight before that, it happened with me when I was the main event on AFC. I started feeling it in the fight. Like luckily, I got the fight done in the first round, but I started feeling my breathing getting affected, and I started getting tired a lot quicker. And I was like, in my mind, I was thinking if this keeps going to second, third round. I'm gonna be in some trouble. So luckily, I was able to get him out in the first.
Yeah, man. Like I actually had a doctor on here, Dr. Yared Vasquez, who works for the UFC, and we were talking about sinusitis. You have to go back and listen to the episode. You probably should, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
or you should just contact Dr. Vasquez for some free advice on how to deal with that. But he was prescribing a steroid for Nunes. I think she did the right thing because you can see in every one of her fights, she drops off like after the second round. And that just doesn't seem consistent with what I've heard about her work ethic. And, of course, her camp down at American Top Team. Mm-hmm. I just don't understand that. So the fact, I knew it was something. I knew it couldn't have been the fact that she was maybe getting nervous or she was having, problems with adrenaline dumps. I didn't think it was that. Right. So that's a horrible thing to have to battle through and deal with.
Yeah, it's like you don't know what it's like unless you go through it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Unless you experience it, you really don't know what it's like. We could tell you, I know Dana White was giving her shit like, oh, we can't make anybody fight if they don't want to fight. But it's really like it's almost like you're breathing through a small hole in a paper bag over your head. You know what I'm saying? Like a plastic bag over your head. It's really horrible. You have to keep your mouth open, and on top of that, if you keep your mouth open when you're fighting, you get hit the right way in your jaw, you're going to break your jaw and you're going to get tired a lot quicker. We can't always say, well, if during fight week or the day of the fight, if we feel like this, we have to, always pull out. But in her case, it's a big fight, it's a big deal, and she would want to do everything possible to, to have the advantage. And if she can't breathe, if she's feeling sick, then, I kind of understand. I understand her point.
I personally think that's Dana White's fault. He knew that shit, man. He should have had her out there early so she could get over it. Let's say she should have been out there, or her camp's fault. Guys down in the American Top Team, you need to talk to them motherfuckers. Tell them, get Amanda Nunes out there like 2 months early so she can get over her little sinus infection and, get through it and get on her shit. So I blame Dana White and the American Top Team. It's too, if I know about it and I just cover fights, damn right, the damn promoter and the team should know about it and prepare for that, just like you would prepare for elevation, have your people out there early so they can, get acclimated. But enough about that. More about you, man. You are from the New York area originally. I know you trained down in Florida in the American Top Team, right? But you're from New York.
I was born in Queens, New York, Elmhurst Hospital. I moved down here when I was young. I was about I want to say 7 or 8 years old when I moved down here. My parents came down here because they're from Colombia, which is a similar climate to Florida. It was hot year round. It doesn't snow. It doesn't really get cold at all. So when they moved to New York, my mom was like, she's not having the weather. She's like, she was not having the snow and the cold and all that kind of stuff. And so we had some family not family. We had some friends that lived down here in Florida. So then we relocated, came down to Florida, and I've been here ever since. But I still go up and down and go see my family. I still got a lot of family up in New York. But I'm a resident here in Florida for a long time.
Okay, that's what's up. And your fight career, has it been? How did you get to American Top Team? Have you said you fought most of your fights in Florida? So did you start your mixed martial arts career down there? And you have a very well developed striking game. When did you get into the martial arts? I guess that should be the first of it. Like, what's your martial arts origin? Where did you come from, sir? And how did you develop your skill set?
Okay, so to make a long story short, as a kid, man, I've always loved martial arts. Van Damme was like the man to me, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I knew Bruce Lee was kind of a little bit past my era, but like everything that I saw on TV was Van Damme this, Van Damme that. So Bloodsport, Kickboxer, all these movies with him in it. So he was a big inspiration, and Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, all these martial art films and movies and cartoons were like a big inspiration to me. And I was a kid who was always like to hit things, I guess, like to wrestle around. So finally, my father put me into martial arts when I was visiting him one summer in New York, because my parents had split. My father went back to New York. My mom stayed out here in Florida. So one summer he put me into some karate school. I loved it, and then I told my mom, like, I want to stay here because I want to do karate. And she's like, no, come back, and I'll find you a gym. So my cousin at the time was training at a karate school, and I went in. It was like love at first sight at the first day, and I automatically gravitated towards it. My instructor, who I call him my dad. I mean, everybody. Once I get to be more and more known, he was in my corner in this last fight. He's my head instructor, my head trainer, my head coach. But I call him my dad because he's been a father figure to me, because my father wasn't around for a couple of years, my biological father. So to him, he was, I guess, like you could see those stories where you go to a gym and the trainer becomes like your dad, and he mentors you, and he raises you because your mom is working so many jobs and just taking care of the house and make sure you're fed and you have clothes. So he kind of played that role for me. So fast forward to my teenagers. Obviously,
so why did you? Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
But I stayed with him. His name is Sensei Fred Davis. As a matter of fact, and when I first started with him, I started with him at 9 years old. And as a matter of fact, Tisha Torres was in the gym before I was. I think she's top 5 in strawweight division, the 115 pounders. I think she's top 5.
Right.
So me,
she's getting there. She's getting there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So anyway, I knew her from way back when. We both got our black belts from him. So I've known her since she was like 4 years old. So we trained up until my teenage. I was about 18 years old, and I wanted to try boxing because I've always loved. I did really well in martial arts. I competed, all over the country. Won hundreds of medals and first places and stuff like that. I toured in training and competition teams and whatnot. So then I wanted to get into boxing because at the time kickboxing wasn't making money. I mean, it still really isn't making a lot of money. So I wanted to go where the money was. And UFC had just started kind of somewhat taking off. Like they started.
What year is this?
This was. Cause I remember the first time I saw the UFC, I was like 12 years old or something like that. So 5 years old. I want to say like 12 years ago or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. Like they were kind of being, this is when Dana White took over and he was kind of making a better image.
Yeah, Pride was the bigger product at that time.
Right. So it was either boxing, kickboxing, or MMA. And I was like, well, I've always been stand up because of my background, which is Junri Taekwondo. So my instructor, his instructor was also a professional kickboxer. So my stand-up game, it wasn't like a typical karate guy where my hands are down and I'm just kicking a lot and don't know how to box. Like I knew how to box. I understood footwork. I understood, the techniques of Western boxing alongside Taekwondo with, the philosophy of the kicks. So my stand-up game was always on point. So anyway, so I did boxing. I went into the PAL League. Things didn't work out. I won my first fight, but then I love to kick so much, obviously from my background of kicking. So I wanted to do MMA. So being in South Florida is kind of a small community when it comes to martial arts. So my instructor knew someone else who was currently fighting. He had his own gym, and they knew each other from way back when, since I was a little kid. So he contacted Roger Crawl, which is one of the striking coaches for American Top Team. Actually, he's one of the striking coaches for Amanda Nunes, and he got me in touch with Roger, and he was like, "Listen, my kid wants to fight. Can you help him out?" And at that time, there was no amateur MMA fights; there were just amateur Muay Thai fights. So I went like on a 14-0 amateur Muay Thai, streak, and then from there. I wanted to turn pro in MMA. So they just legalized amateur MMA, or they just sanctioned amateur MMA down here in Florida. So I had one amateur MMA fight, and then back then you could turn pro whenever you wanted. You didn't have to, like now I think you have to have at least 5 amateur fights before you turn pro. So I did one amateur MMA fight. I won, and I was like, you know what? I'm ready to go turn pro. At that time, Roger Crawl was associated with the American Top Team. So then, he brought me over to American Top Team because they were looking for more prospects. Young guys up and coming. They wanted to keep more and more guys coming in that are going to be the future for American Top Team. So that's kind of how I made my way into American Top Team. It was pretty much of who I knew to get me into the doors.
Okay, that's what's up. Now, you've had you pretty still, although you're right in your fighting prime, you're a little older at 32. You've got about 10 fights now, so you're still very young in your fight career. I assume you've made the UFC so quickly because of the exceptional nature of your striking. Did you just focus on how have you managed your training with preparing for mixed martial arts fights? Has it been mostly focusing on grappling? Or how do you approach a training camp in a fight? Because you have a lifetime full of striking experience. So I would assume you would be focusing on trying to sharpen up your grappling skills. In your last fight, that was your undoing. I thought you were rather well prepared, but just couldn't deal with the pace of the fight. First of all, how did your training camps go, and how do you prepare for fights? Is it mostly grappling or what?
All right, yeah, I'm gonna address everything, especially the last fight, because no one really knows about this unless like you were someone close to me, because I didn't really talk about it. But to the first question you asked, my training camps, I pretty much I do everything. Like I know my bread and butter, and anybody who fights me, my bread and butter is gonna be striking. So everybody's gonna be trying to take me down, and they're gonna try to ground and pound me out or try to submit me in or whatever. I focus on everything. I try to do more wrestling, uh, and like very basic grappling. I'm not trying to go out there and like do, try to get a twister, or try to do crazy heel hooks and stuff. Just very basic things. Like even when it comes to striking, if you have a strong foundation of your basics, everything else that's more advanced is gonna come a lot easier. But when you're trying to learn all the crazy fancy moves, that's where you mess up. So for me, having a solid wrestling base, knowing the basics and positioning, hand position, hand fighting, hips. Same thing with grappling, knowing where my hip placement is, hand placement, head placement, the little things. I'm a very detailed technical kind of person, so I like to focus on the basics, and that way everything else is in a flow. It's going to be a lot easier. So my training camps, I really haven't been specifically working on one thing more than the other, because the first time that I did that, when I fought Brandon Gerst in my Bellator debut, I was like, this guy's a wrestler. He's a D1 wrestler. He's going to try to take me down. So all I did was work takedown defense, and it was like my demise, because all I did was, instead of striking, I just let him, I was anticipating the takedown. I know it's coming, and trying to defend it, but he got the takedown because I wasn't giving him anything to think about. I was just a sitting duck.
I see what you're saying.
And, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I worry about too much about what the other person's going up, they're not going to worry about what I have to do, and I'm not going to worry about, and I have to worry about them, and them not worrying about me. So I think that's not a really good game plan. Like, I understand that if like, for example, like, T Wood was fighting Damian Maia, he knows that that Damian Maia is going to try to take him down. So he was working.
Right. I was about to say, you pulled a Woodley.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So, but he made it to his advantage. I mean, he was a wrestler too, so it kind of worked out. But all he did was defend and not so much be offensive, because he didn't want to get taken down. So he was more worried about Damian Maia than he was worried about his game. Maybe if he was opened up a little bit more, he would have maybe took him out. You know what I'm saying?
He should have. That was a shameful performance, I thought, man. I'm usually a Tyron Woodley supporter 100%, but man, did that piss me off. I was here in St. Louis with about Ballpark Village, yeah, it was a bunch. It was hundreds of people there watching him fight, and man, was that garbage, man.
And it's like, when you worry too much about somebody else's game, it takes away from you, and then you're just in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Now you're just waiting for the inevitable, and 9 times out of 10 you're probably gonna get beat. But if you work certain things that that they're strong suits, if you work little things to defend against it, but still implement your game plan, then that's the key. That's the way to go. But now to the fight that I just had with Jared Gordon.
Jared Flash Gordon at UFC Fight Night 112.
Yeah. Now, what happened with that really no one really knows about is after the fight, when I got taken to the back to get look from the doctors, they told me that my blood sugar count was up 225 plus. So they asked me, the first thing they asked me was like, "Are you a diabetic?" And I was like, "No." So a normal blood count, I guess, for you and I, a normal person is 60 to 100. So they were telling me that the weight cut is the reason why my body got so out of whack. Now, I've never cut to 45 twice, in a matter of I think it was 5 weeks. So in the span of 5 weeks, I cut to 45 twice. I came from, for the first time in going to the Dallas fight, I had 3 weeks to make 145 or 146, but I made 145.5, and I was coming down from 180. Then obviously the fight didn't happen because he, quote unquote, got food poisoning, which I think that he just tried to cut too much weight in too short of a time too. Only his body didn't react to his body couldn't take it. So he had to pull out from the fight. And it made even more sense to me then now because of what happened in Oklahoma City. So then we went to the retreat, the UFC fighter retreat at the end of May. And I was under the impression that I was going to fight him in Long Island because he's from New York. I'm from New York. So I'm like, why not make it happen in New York? So I was under the impression from that. And then they called me the week after I came from the retreat, and they were like, "So what you
doing? You was eating a bunch of food, you was drinking and stuff?" Yeah. Down there?
I just enjoyed myself. I went out. I had a couple of drinks. I had a shit ton of food. I made 145.5, and I was coming down from 180. Then obviously the fight didn't happen because I was just eating. I was just getting back to my normal self. So I blew up back to 180. And then they were like, well, in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you're gonna fight Jared Gordon. So I'm like, all right, cool. I started dieting. I'm on point with my diet. Like when I get ready for a fight, everything else gets cut off. Like I'm very disciplined with everything. So I started dieting. I started cutting the weight. Everything was going fine. Even the weight cut was easy. This dude, I'm not trying to bash him or anything like that, but the day of the weigh-ins, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was the first person in the sauna, and I'm there cutting the last pound and a half that I had left. He goes in there and he had a cup in his hand and he's drinking water or he's drinking coffee or some shit. I don't know what it was. And he's like, talking to me, what's up, what's going on, da da da. And I'm like, yo, how much weight you got left? And then he was like, I think he said he was like 2 pounds out or 2.5 pounds out. And I'm like, word? I'm like, you got 2.5. In my head, I'm like, you got 2.5 pounds, but you drinking water or whatever. So he comes in the sauna with me for like, I don't know, 2 minutes, and then he gets out. So whatever. I made my weight. I'm like 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm done. I make weight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm resting, whatever. So now he comes in, and he comes in 4 pounds overweight, and I'm like, what the fuck? So whatever. I hydrated. Everything was fine. My body was feeling fine. I'm in the back. Fight night. I'm in the back.
So he was overweight for that fight massively, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like 4 pounds. He came in 4 pounds overweight in the weigh-ins. So it's not like he even tried. You're hiring perfect athletes to get you, ready. You're paying them a good amount of money, a couple $1,000 to get you ready to make weight. And
wait a minute, did you do that too, or did he do that?
No, he did that. Okay. I just know people that contract them, that they're not cheap. You know what I'm saying? So they had other people on the card that did make weight. So it was something that he didn't do, or he wasn't mentally tough enough to do it, or he wasn't disciplined enough to do it, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I can't speak on that. I just know he didn't make weight. And this is the second time that he didn't make weight. So fast forward to fight day. I'm in the back. I'm getting warmed up. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling phenomenal. Everything, I'm warming up. It was feeling good. Mentally, I'm in a good place. I go into the fight, get into the cage. They say fight. The first grappling exchange that we have, where he went to a double leg and he went for a single leg, and we were kind of against the cage for a little while. After that, my legs were shot. Like my body just did not respond.
So you crashed right in the octagon, huh? Because it didn't look technically like you didn't know what you were doing. It just looked like you were overwhelmed.
Yeah, my body just couldn't respond, and I didn't understand why. Like it wasn't an adrenaline dump. It wasn't like I had the jitters, because I was completely fine. I could understand if I was like, I would admit like, okay, you know what? I was really nervous. I was really sweaty, or I was calm. I was cool. And I couldn't, I came at him right at the start of the bell. I came at him, I threw a combination, whatever. He came in off of, I forgot what it was that he came in off of, but he shot a double leg. I got out of that. He almost tried to take my back, but I got up. And then after that, or before that, I think I threw a jump knee. I think that's how he got the double leg. But anyway, after that exchange, my legs were shot. And then I couldn't do anything. I had no like power in my hands. I had no power in my kicks. I couldn't move. There was one time he shoved me against the cage. I tower over this dude. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at physically wise, he mauled me. He pretty much ragdolled me. And I know I'm stronger than him. I know I'm more athletic than him. But he just did what he wanted with me, and I couldn't respond to it. My body couldn't respond, and I didn't understand why. And then when I went to the back and I saw the medics, they were like, yo, your body pretty much shut down on you because of your weight cut, of what you did to it, and I really didn't understand it, because my fights I've always had a training camp to get ready for each fight. I've never had in a fight where it was like, okay, you got 2 weeks to get ready for a fight, especially making 45. I cut down a lot. I cut down from like 175, 180 to make 45. So I need time to prepare my body to go through that stress. And I never really understood that up until now. So it was a learning experience. But now this is the first time I'm actually voicing it. Like I didn't make an excuse. I didn't go on Instagram or Facebook when I listen, guys, this and this would happen. I'm just taking it on the chin, like whatever. The next person I fight, it's going to showcase what I can do. I'm going to do what I know what I do, and I'm going to do what everybody expects me to do. And then I'm gonna be like, you know what, this is what happened, and I'll fight dude again. He didn't do it. He hit me like, I don't know, like 70 times in the second round and couldn't put me out. You know what I'm saying? Like he hit me straight on the chin, elbows, hammer, and it didn't even hurt. I just couldn't respond to it. I was just literally
I see. Because it looked like I was picking you. Did I pick you to win? I don't know. But I knew that you had the technical striking advantage. It was just a matter of your preparation and coming from American Top Team. I figured you should be prepared for a one-dimensional type fighter like Gordon. But yeah, it's comforting to know that there is an explanation behind that. So once again, School of Black Negro Jitsu gets the inside scoop. I think we were first to hear about it.
You're the first to know. We were
first to hear about Pearl Gonzalez and her breast implants post that debacle as well. So we always be on top of things, man.
I spoke to her at the retreat. She told me about that too.
About
I met her at the retreat.
Yeah. We had except what was that for? Was that for the MMA Edge Fantasy Podcast? But nonetheless, LeRoiStephon is always on top of the shit. So yeah, man, I think you got a great future. When do you want to fight next?
Honestly, man, if I can get on like something in October, late September, October, it'll be perfect. You know what I'm saying? Right now I'm just trying to get my hormone levels back to, be normal and stabilized.
What you mean? Why is that?
Well, I forgot what her name is. She's my teammate. I forgot her name. She used to fight in the 125 women's division. Valerie. She has a French last name.
Valerie Letourneau.
There we go. She had a problem that she didn't know why. Her body was out of whack from the weight cut issues, and she saw a doctor and she said her hormone levels were all crazy because she cut so much weight in such a short span of time. So I believe I'm on that kind of same thing, kind of the same track. So I'm just trying to get my body, kind of stabilized and normal, because I went from, like I said, within, I want to say 6 weeks or so, my body went from, going up 40 pounds, coming down 40 pounds or 35 pounds, whatever it is, in such a short span of time. So for me to say
that's too drastic, that's ridiculous, man. Like you could, that's not good.
Yeah, man. And for me to say, well, I want to fight September. Yeah, mentally, I'm ready to fight whenever, but physically I want my body to be right. Cause I should have beat him. I know I can beat him. I know I'm better than him, but I'll give it to him. He won, whatever. But I want to showcase what I'm capable of. That's my biggest concern. Even if win, lose, or draw, if when I go there, I want to do what I can do. If the guy is better than me and he beats me because he's a better man and he's a better skilled fighter, then I could live with that. But if I go in there and I beat myself because I didn't do the right thing, or I'm not prepared the right way, or because of something stupid that I did, I can't live with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he's a better man, all right, he's a better man. But if it's because of me, that I can't live with that.
You're from New York area. Have you ever been to the Shake Shack before?
Shake Shack?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I have.
No, really? It seems to be like my co-host on this show, who are not here right now, but they talk about the Shake Shack. Damian Brown, who fights in the UFC, ad talk. What's your weight class? 145?
Yeah, 145.
I think he's 155. He's from Australia. He went to the Shake Shack and loved it. Or was that Tony Martin? But everybody I talk to from New York, they always talk about the Shake Shack this and the Shake Shack that.
Where's it at?
Shit, I don't know. I think it's one of those large chains in the New York area. It's like, I guess it's like Steak and Shake here or something like that.
Okay, yeah, no, surprisingly I haven't heard. I mean, it's been a couple years since I've been up there, but I thought I'd at least hear about it because, I've constantly talked to people that have friends and family that are up there. But I mean, now I'm a big pizza dude, man. I go up there and I go to the Bronx. I go to the Bronx and I get these big ass slices of pizza, like literally the size from my elbow to my fingertip. Like I'm a big.
Do you like thin crust pizza, man?
Not too much.
That's what we got here in St. Louis, man. It is delicious. I guess that's the.
What are you guys known for, though? What are you guys known for? You guys are not known for your pizza, though. What do you guys?
Toasted ravioli. That's something that's unique to here. Have you ever had toasted ravioli before?
No, that's a first for me.
Have you ever heard of toasted ravioli before?
Nah.
No?
Nah, man. I'm a big food person too. I'm surprised I never heard of that.
Shit, man, it's the shit. As a matter of fact, it's so big here. They even sell it in stores. It's huge, man. Toasted ravioli is the shit. Thin crust pizza. Oh yeah, shrimp St. Paul. You ever had a St. Paul from the Chinese food place?
I've heard of St. Paul, but I never heard of what was it? The Chinese what?
Like at the Chinese, well, they call it the Chinaman here. The Chinese food place. You got shrimp St. Paul, chicken St. Paul.
Oh yeah.
So do y'all? So you've had a St. Paul before? That's originated from here. I don't. St. Louis is a pretty shitty place, but there's some good things about it, man. There's some good things about it. But
yeah, I mean it's like any place, man. I mean there's some places where there's it's bad, but you have some gems in them. Every place can be complete.
Now are you a party guy, man? Do you are you married? You got a girlfriend? Well, what do you do when you're not fighting? You play video games. What do you do to come down from the stress of training and whatnot? And do you teach any or anything like that?
Yeah, man. Actually, that's my biggest passion right there. I'm a martial artist at heart. I wouldn't say that I'm a fighter, but I'm a very, very competitive person, and I love to put myself to the test and my skills to the test. So I'm not like a fighter, like a meathead. Like I'm gonna go out. I'm like, yo, I'll fight anybody, anytime. Like even in the street, I'm not like a bully like that at all. I've never been like that. I'm just not like that. I'm not even a fighter that I'm just gonna be like. I'm gonna fight till I'm 50 years old. I'm gonna fight. I'll fight anybody, and I'm not that kind of person. I'm just a martial artist who loves the art, who loves the lifestyle. And with that being said, I love teaching. I love giving back. I love spreading my knowledge, and that I wanted to use the platform that I'm on right now to grow my name, so I can hopefully one day run a chain of schools. So my biggest thing at the end of the day is just to be a teacher, man. I want to pass on my knowledge. So I do teach at my gym. I have my students or whatever. Icon MMA and Fitness is the name of my gym. I'm a big, huge Call of Duty fan, man. I love playing Call of Duty. So that's like my
okay. So you say you got a gym. Is that how you make outside of fighting? Is that how you really make a living? Is your gym?
Yeah, that's what I teach. I do private lessons and stuff like that. So that's how I make my money outside of fighting.
And how long have you been doing that for?
Oh man, for a couple years now. I mean, I've before my 20s, I didn't know what I was going to do as far as the whole fighting thing. Like I was still trying to get that off the ground. So when I was fighting amateur, I needed to support myself, right? So I took up IT, and I did IT in my 20s, was very successful at it, and I just couldn't keep being behind a desk and making somebody else money, especially knowing that I had a skill and I had a talent in something else. So what I did was I gave up a lucrative job of a very, kind of somewhat stable position for martial arts. So I kind of said, you know what, one day I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket in MMA and see where that takes me. So that's exactly what I did. I gave up my full-time career, and I had some money in my savings. I had my 401k, and I started fighting. And then through that, I started, obviously I started picking up clients here and there. And then I started teaching and fighting, and that's what I still do to this day.
Okay, that's what's up, man. All right, stay on the line. I got to do the fight picks with you. I got to do the outro for this. But Michel Quinones, all the best of luck with your schools. But thank you for coming and contributing to my school Black Negro Jitsu today. It's been excellent having you on. Oh, if you've got any shout outs for this one, like I said, stay on the line because I got to finish up with the other one. But yeah, any shout outs you want to do right now? Go ahead, man.
Yeah, big shout outs to American Top Team. Obviously, is my gym that I go to. Also, my gym, Icon MMA and Fitness, Real World Training Center. My boy Jeremy Diaz, my other boy, my nutritionist and strength and conditioning coach, Pat O'Reilly, my dad, my head instructor, my head coach, my mentor, Sensei Fred Davis, my man Roger Crawl, my sponsors, Silver Lining, Lean Staffing Solutions, Fruizer, Newcom, yeah, man, and just everybody who supports me. Shout out to you. Thank you for having me on your show. everybody supports me. I guess fans. Now I got some fans now, so thank you to all my fans, friends and family. Thank you so much, everybody, for supporting me. I really appreciate it.
We heard Quinones' side of things. Let's get a little expert insight on exactly, or a little second diagnosis, a second opinion from another doctor on exactly what happened to Michel Quinones, Mitchell Quinones on the night of that Jared Gordon fight. I brought in Dr. Yared Vasquez again to give us some insight on his, not only his sinuses, but also the situation of high blood sugar. And I think you'll find this very interesting, guys. Check into this one. Dr. Yared Vasquez, welcome back to the School of Black Negro Jitsu. Of course, we had some in-depth medical conversation with Mitchell Capo Quinones, and I wanted to get some expert insight on the things that he said concerning his sinuses, seems to be going around in the American top team, and also his high blood sugar, and what you think about the situation, what you think about the doctor's advice. First, let's talk about the situation with the sinuses. What do you think of the doctor's advice? What do you think was actually going on with Quinones? Give us your diagnosis and your analysis of all that.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, when I heard the sound bit, I was surprised that there's so much for fighters to understand and be able to navigate this simple condition that, if properly, is going to be an afterthought, right? So, another victim to a sinus infections. I think sinus infections is 2-0 with American top team.
It is.
It's hitting them hard, but it's part of the climate. It's humidity, heat, summer, and fall. There's different points in the year that we could be affected by this. First of all, it's the name of the game is chronic treatment. I think I'm just going to briefly touch base so that these guys can and Amanda can benefit from this. If we want to get rid of sinus infections or rhinitis, rhinitis, which is just the precursor to the infection, which is the response of the body's immune system making your mucosa, your nose, all clogged up. And he mentioned that he can only breathe out of one nose hole, and that marks a lot of inflammation in there, in the nasal tissues. And the name of the game with this is gonna be antihistamines and glucocorticoids, which is a type of steroid which is going to reduce that inflammation. Oh. That's the name of the game, and I'm putting out the vibe for both of them, Amanda, and I forgot his name, Leroy.
Mitchell Capo. It's Leroy.
Mitchell.
Leroy in French.
Leroy.
That's the king in
Leroy.
French.
I like that.
I know. It's no big deal. But it's Mitchell Capo Quinones. Yeah, go ahead. Keep dropping knowledge on him.
All right, Leroy. Both of those guys and gals, this problem free of charge.
Hold on, you cut
the name of the game is.
You said what now?
Oh, sorry. That they can contact me through you or through social media, and I will take care of this problem for them for free.
Okay.
Because I love that team. And if it means that they're going to perform better, I will do it for free. I'm saying out there publicly. So everybody heard me. I will take care of it for free. Secondly, there is an important link between inflammation, cortisol, which is a hormone that the body produces, and increased sugar. So it's kind of crazy that you could probably remember better than me that after his fight, the doctors were worried because his blood sugar was high.
225, I believe.
225, which, if it's a doctor that is a little uh, you know, not a lot of experience in internal medicine in the inner workings of the endocrine system, you could say, hey, are you diabetic? And that would be a little bit wrong because you're talking about a circumstance in a fight, combat, where are you familiar, Leroy, with fight or flight?
Yes, the fight or flight response. Yes.
Exactly. So when you're there in that cage and the cage guy closes the door behind you, there's a little hormone that endocrine system in the adrenal glands that's called cortisol. And cortisol is going to increase the production of sugar in your system. It's that little hormone that tells you, hey, we're about to run and be out of danger. We're going to get it on. And the beautiful thing about MMA fighters, they don't have the option to run unless you're Caleb Starnes. That's for OGs of the sport. But
Oh man,
you're an OG, so you totally got that. And I love you, Caleb Starnes. If you're listening out there, don't beat me up. It's just an old school reference. But you're going forward, so your body's preparing you for that. So your body's going to put out cortisol, which is going to tell your body, hey, we need a whole bunch of sugar, which is nothing more than fuel to get this fight underway. It's going to dilate your pupil so you see everything coming a little bit better. It's going to optimize your respiratory system. So it's going to dilate your bronchi so a lot of oxygen comes in. So coming out of the fight, you're measuring the sugar that was released in that combat scenario. So
you don't think it had anything to do necessarily with his two back-to-back weight cuts in that short amount of time, the crash that he had during the fight? Why do you think he crashed? Do you think it had to do with the elevated?
If there was back-to-back weight cuts, when we're talking about weight cuts, imagine this. The body, if you're going to simplify the body, let's divide it in two compartments, right? Imagine a house with a lot of rooms, right? Those rooms are going to be the cardiovascular system, the kidneys, another room's going to be muscle, and that hallway that runs across, next to all these rooms is the room where the blood's going to go by, and everything that those tissues need, cardiovascular system, renal system, nervous system, muscles, are accessed through that compartment, which is the blood vessels. Now, for weight cutting, what you do, imagine in Star Wars, that room where it crushed Leia and Han Solo, and right, it was a room that was getting smaller. So by cutting weight, they're getting that
you cut out a little
smaller.
Bit
so the amount of nutrients. Oh, sorry. So by cutting weight, the only thing that you're doing is making that stream that takes nutrients and that takes oxygen and everything that the different tissues need, you make it smaller. So the response that you and I have, we don't have to cut weight. We're excellent. We're well hydrated. We eat. We train sometimes. And we're good. But these guys, they train to the highest level, and then they exert tremendous amount of stress on their bodies. And absolutely with that is going to come an increased amount of cortisol. The body doesn't know that you're cutting weight by, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys. They think you're dying.
So you think that, so they think you're dying when the cortisol increases like that?
Absolutely. The body doesn't have eyes inside of it. It just responds. It gives you tachycardia, your heart rate up, right? You start to shut off different systems. That's why you see when you have really bad weight cuts, you see the patients, they start to tremble, their mind breaks, they have cramps, because your body starts to break down. It's severe dehydration, sodium balance plays a tremendous role in this, and your body starts breaking down. You by all means, your biology is fighting death because you're forcing it to a suboptimal suboptimal place.
So you think that the stress of the weight cut, on top of the stress of the fight, led to an abnormal increase in cortisol, which led to the crash? Is that about right?
Yeah, I would say that maybe not an abnormal increase in cortisol,
Or an
but
increase in cortisol that caused an increase in the blood sugar that led to a crash. Is that about?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, 100%. If we grab any sample of fighters, fight card, and we measure that glucose, um, 99% of them are going to be above, average. And he mentioned, that a doctor told him that, glucose. I was jumping out of my seat when 60 to 100 is normal. That's a lie. Glucose has different ranges throughout the day. We diagnose diabetes when you wake up in the morning, Leroy. You wake up at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. We measure your sugar there before you eat anything, put anything in your mouth. If it's above 126, right there, right? Fasting 8 hours without eating anything. That's, if you do it twice, that's diabetes. If you measure sugar at random, it has to be above 200 normally without a fight, without any offending situations, without weight cuts, and then you talk about diabetes. But yeah, cortisol, the body is just reacting. If you're walking in a dark hallway and a dog barks at you and you get scared and you get out of the hallway and you stop, Leroy. Let me take your blood glucose right now. Oh, you bet you it's going to be 180 because your body entered fight or flight.
Oh, I see. So your diagnosis is that basically it was basically a. So does this happen in other fighters where the stress of a fight and the stress of a weight cut leads to increased blood sugar, which leads to a crash? You think?
Absolutely. It's all about the response of insulin. Insulin wants to put glucose inside your tissues. Cortisol, exactly all the way around. Cortisol wants to put sugar in your bloodstream. And it's going to. I have fighters in Iowa that are diabetic. And the only thing I do right before 20 minutes before the fight, I go backstage. I grab my glucose meter. I check the range. If it's 180, from let's say 120, I already expect that hike in glucose because I know they're ready to engage. I know their physiology is getting ready for that battle, for that fight or flight. So for me, it's normal. And I wait 1 hour for, we're talking fighters with the diagnosis of diabetes type 2 or type 1, even type 1, right? Which is the younger onset diabetes, autoimmune diabetes. And what I do, 1 hour after the fight or before I leave the venue, I check their sugar again. I help them, get a active dose of insulin only for those that are diabetic. For the non-diabetics, wake up the next morning, you poke the finger, and that sugar is going to be completely normal.
Okay, all right. So, what do you think he could do to prevent this from happening in the future? Of course, I guess no back-to-back 3-week extreme weight cuts. That would be one thing. What else do you think Quinones could do to solve this problem?
So it's all about keeping adequately hydrated after weight cuts, and diet, and make sure that weight cut is no less than 10 to 15 pounds. When you start to cut more than 15 pounds, your body starts to be stressed before. And the thing about cortisol is that it prevents ADH, antidiuretic hormone, to work, and it retains fluid. So if you start to stress your body before the weight cut, it's going to be a harder weight cut. So it's about treating your body right. And that includes sinus infections, right? So let's say Samantha Nunez or this other young man, keep your medicine check. Take them every day religiously, just the same way that you treat your, you hit mitts every day, you do your cardio, your strength conditioning every day. Make sure you have your meds every day and you dose them correctly at the adequate time.
You still there?
That's your risk. Yeah, I'm still here.
You cut out there a little
so
bit.
It's all about risk management. Oh,
Okay.
When did I cut out? I didn't notice.
After you said manage your I think your meds like your mitts.
Oh, yes. You do mitts, you do cardio, you do everything, and you make sure, they're very religious with that. You got to be religious with your medication as well. If you are a patient that has a lot of rhinitis and sinusitis, drink your medicine every day. Do your nasal sprays every day as it should be. I guarantee you, Leroy, they will not have problems with that. And there's another little thing that I found. There is a link between sinus infections and sinusitis to anxiety. So there's a journal that says, yes. And I'm going to have that link available to you. I'm going to send it to you. You can have it in your social media if listeners want to kind of take a peep, they can know that I'm not making it up.
Okay, yeah. Just PM it to me, and I'll go ahead and put it out with this episode. Make sure people can get a hold of this link. But I used to think that Amanda Nunes would get so tired because it's something to do with anxiety and the stress of a fight. But there is a link between sinusitis and anxiety, huh?
Absolutely. There is increased anxiety conduct when you have an allergic response. It's your body recognizing something that is not a threat and responding like it is a threat, right? That's allergy in a nutshell. And that has been known. They use, tiny rats, research a lot of times is with primates, with, small animals. And they induced allergy in these animals, and they measured stress by introducing unknown other to measure the anxiety response, even in primates as well, which are closely related. Anxiety, your heart rate's going to be a little bit more uncontrolled. So this is something that has to be taken serious. A lot of folks have seen, have heard all the explanations about sinusitis, and everybody was calling BS. But when you dig down and you sit down and do a little bit of research, it becomes a little bit more serious and something that has to be taken care of. Because, in a prize fighting scene, scenario, all those, and, I love what you said, the promoter has to be on top of this.
Yeah, because anxiety is a part of it. And then, because listen, if you hear about some type of medical condition with your fighter, that's something that has to be addressed because they are absolutely the key to all the money. And Dana White knew about that and didn't do anything. He just and who your fighter is, and you have to wonder what was causing, her to gas out and stuff like that. And now you got your answer and you don't address it. That's totally on Dana White.
Absolutely. And, there's a lot of things on Dana's plate. There are a lot of things on the team, but they also need, they have, I commend them because they have that UFC Performance Institute in Vegas. And that's great. But guess who moved to Florida? Dr. Yared Vasquez.
You did.
And I'm ready to take care of the East Coast.
All right.
So UFC, let's open.
Hold on, you cut out there. You said let's open.
And what? I'll take care of everybody starting. Let's open up Performance Institute down here. I'll take care of it.
You heard it first here on the School of Black Negro Jitsu. Yared Vasquez wants to open a performance center down there in Florida. It seems like American Top Team needs one. They are down there struggling. Stay on the line though, because we got one more thing to do, Vasquez. But Vasquez, thank you for your contribution to the School of Black Negro Jitsu today.
Absolutely.
This is absolutely. Quinones had never talked. He had really crashed in that fight, and I was kind of disappointed, but I understand what happened now. because I kind of expected him to be able to withstand the storm of Jared Gordon, but this really explains everything very well, very insightful, and it helps us to really understand the science behind weight cutting, nutrition. When we see fighters get tired in fights, there's a lot that goes into that. It's not just because they were lazy and didn't train. At this level, they most likely did train, but with any sort of sickness, any sort of mismanagement of the weight cut or anything, it could have on top of the anxiety and the stress and all that comes with a fight, your body could just crash and shut down. It's not the same as any other sport. This is a whole different thing, and our human responses will often protect us from the combat with certain things that end up dipping your performance. So thank you for your contribution today, and that's it.
Hope you guys enjoyed that from Michel, Capo, Quinones, and Dr. Yared Vasquez. Very, very interesting stuff here. But, oh man, I think somebody in the UFC has been drinking some haterade, and it looks like his name is Iaquinta. He has dissed one of my very favorite parts of UFC broadcasts. That's the SnoopCast, dog. I love SnoopCast on the Ultimate Contender series. It's the only reason I'm tuning in. It's all SnoopCast all day. And Iaquinta talking about they need to take it off. He's breaking down the business. Matt Brown agrees with him. This is ridiculous. But I like it, man. I like his approach to everything. I like his it's different, it's fresh. You never know what you're gonna hear. It's unprofessional. That's why they got it around. It's not supposed to be more professional Joe Rogan, Brian Stan type bull crap. It's supposed to be fun. I really like this SnoopCast. Have you guys been able to tune into it on Fight Pass or what? What do you guys think of the SnoopCast?
I have.
Iaquinta is right.
I understand where Al's coming from, but I actually like having Snoop in the booth because it's almost like having a buddy there, a fan who is just enjoying the fights, and it's an alternative broadcast, and that's the key. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to. If you want the more professional side of things, watch the other broadcast. But for those who want to have a little different take on it, you can enjoy Snoop, and I do. I've toggled between both broadcasts at times because he is a little eccentric in his ways, but he's Snoop. So
Snoop Dogg.
I understand Al. Yeah, he is who he is. So but I understand Al's grievance. He's probably still upset about not getting paid, and that means a lot to him. So I get it.
Dave, what do you think of the SnoopCast?
I haven't had the chance to listen to the SnoopCast. Initially, when we spoke about it a few podcasts back, like I said, I thought it was a little bit more of the kind of circus act that it seems like the UFC is kind of headed towards. But I think I have to give it a listen before I could really make a judgment on it. But with that being said, Iaquinta is out of his mind, and I fucking love it. He does anything he can to really. He's like one of the few fighters who are really so outspoken against the UFC while currently employed by the UFC. And it's just great to actually. It feels like everything that he says is just comes from his heart, and he just really lays into the UFC brass. I've heard him on a few podcasts, and he really lets him have it, and I just love hearing anything Al's got to say because it just seems like he's just genuine.
Raging
and
Al,
speaking of
that's
that,
who he is.
You know what too? I want to get one point in. Snoop, when you watch the broadcast with him, I mean, he's not coached up at all. They just bring him on set, and he's smoking on set. He's doing his thing.
It.
And that's what makes it so beautiful in a way, because it's raw, and it's when guys get knocked out. I mean, you've seen his reaction. That's I mean, I picture most guys on their couches watching this have the same reaction, like, oh shit, doing their when you see somebody starched on the floor, it definitely gets you. I don't want to say aroused, but
I love it. It's authentic, man.
What do you say? Yeah.
It's exactly what's hanging out with your friends is like, and that's what you broadcast or not. They're just too bland and too respectful, and I want to hear somebody's honest opinion. Oh, quit being a bitch. I want to hear that sometimes. It's refreshing. Oh, we've got a fight with PVZ versus Jessica I at flyweight. I love watching Paige Van Zandt fight. She's a real ruffian. She seems like she doesn't shave her legs. That's how she fights. Very beautiful, but seems like she keeps bad hygiene with how dirty she fights. Oh man, do you think this is good? This is gonna be a flyweight. Do you think this is good management by the UFC? This is a tough fight, and Paige Van Zandt is a developmental talent. I think this is a fight she should win. Well, Jessica I is the better striker though. But what do you guys think of this?
How hard are they trying to get her a win? Oh, I don't know. Jessica I's had a few fights in a row where she had her back against the wall. I think she had her father pass away at one point in Cleveland.
I think she won that fight.
Oh, yeah. I expected a better effort out of her, and then she came back and I think took another L. She does have decent... Well, I don't even know. Did she fight Moroz at any point?
Who?
Marina Moroz? No? Moroz?
No, she hadn't fought.
They never.
That would
I
be
hope
a
they
good
never.
fight for her.
Yeah. Oh man. So I could see. Well, I would put my money on Paige in that fight against Jessica I just because I think they're trying to get her a win. What do you think, Dave? Did we lose Dave?
No, I'm here. So I'm actually just, while you guys were talking, I was trying to pull it up on SureDog because I saw someone tweet this today. Jessica I has lost 5 of her last 6 fights. Out of her last 7 fights, she's got, that's 1 win, 5 losses, and 1 no contest. No contest against Sarah Kaufman. It looks like her losses did come to tough competition, right? Split decision loss to Alexis Davis, decision loss against Misha Tate, decision loss against Juliana Pena, decision loss against Sarah McMahon, decision loss against Beth Cahea, and the 1 win was a TKO against Leslie Smith. Looking at it earlier, I thought it might be an easy fight for PVZ, try to get her a win. But now looking at the competition that Jessica I did lose to and the manner in which she lost, I think it's going to be a little bit of a tougher out than maybe the UFC brass is expecting for Paige Van Zandt.
Yeah, man, it's a tough fight.
I still can't wrap my head around it. And LaRoy, we talked about this a few weeks ago on the pod when it was just you and I, where the UFC are not doing good jobs being promoter. They're not doing a good job being promoters. They're not giving these developmental talents cans that they should be building them up with, and instead they're just kind of feeding them to the wolves and giving them tougher fights than I think that they should be giving them. Prime example is Paige against Michelle Waterson. I think the Yair Rodriguez against Frankie Edgar fight. What scares me now too is if Sergio Pettis, if DJ handles Ray Borg, do they throw Sergio Pettis to DJ instead of allowing him to develop a little bit more? And I continue to see it continues to look like they're just not doing the role of playing promoter and really developing guys and gals that they can have they can utilize as future big draws and really build a name for these people. It seems like they're just feeding them to the wolves too quickly, and then that's tarnishing their kind of brand or their name reputation. And people don't. I feel like after a few losses, people don't care about a fighter so much.
No, they don't.
And I think it's wrong because in Paige you got a girl that's athletic, or a woman, that's athletic, that is very attractive. That her looks are marketable alone, and if you fed her some cans and really developed her, and she became a beast of a fighter on top of an attractive woman, you have one of your next big stars right there.
She doesn't have to be a beast, and she is she's close to being one. We just have to believe it. You can't believe somebody losing is a beast.
I agree, and I think I think this is tough. Pardon me.
I never knew she didn't shave her legs.
No, I said she fights like she looks like she doesn't shave her legs.
Oh,
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? She fights so dirty and nasty that it would seem like she doesn't bathe or shave her legs. But let's say over under that Herb Dean smokes weed and gets lit up before fights. I'm saying -700. What do you got?
Oh man, I could see him after an event, yes, but he's all business to me when he's in there.
Herb is so calm because Herb probably doesn't smoke. He probably does edibles before the fights.
Yeah, I could bank on that. Have you guys seen his pro fights? He's actually had a few.
I haven't watched him in a while, but I know he fought for King of the Cage, I think. Herb would be fucked if he had to do a USADA, though. I just know it. Herb would get popped immediately, boy. They'd be like, USADA violation, Herb Dean, boy. Herb would get banned.
Maybe he engages. Maybe he does it with Snoop on the Snoop, post SnoopCast or something. Who knows?
That needs to be the next SnoopCast. It's Snoop and Herb getting lit up on the with some Cheetos and some Munchies, man. That'd be crazy. I would pay. That's pay-per-view, man. Herb Dean and Snoop Dogg on announced team, man. That would be nuts. Let's see here. Frank Meir says that John Jones could probably beat everybody in the heavyweight division besides Miocic or Overeem. I think that Overeem would be a hell of a test for him. What do you guys think?
We're talking about Overeem against John Jones. Is that what we're talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think Jones. You know, Overeem's so chinny. At the end of that third round against Verdum, I had a few units on Overeem. I saw him floating around the cage. That was hard to watch. He's a punch or two away of getting his career ended, and I'm the biggest Overeem fan you'll meet. So I could see John Jones not walking through him, but picking his spots and doing what he needs to do. And the thing, though, Overeem has a pretty good ground game, and he's not a light heavyweight either. What does he come in at, around 240, 245 nowadays?
I don't know. He's big.
That would be a pretty good fight, though. But
I'd like to see Jones versus Overeem.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That would have been a good fight. You know, the difference is the output. Overeem will sit back and put his chin out front and wait and counter, and he's not going to get that with Jones. Jones will, man, he'll work him over. Yeah, that would be a good fight. But I would pick John Jones in that fight.
Oh boy, is there anything else interesting going on? We've got Teixeira versus Serkinov announced. I think that's a horrible matchup for Serkinov.
Ooh, I have a question for you. Do you think John Jones should be getting derailed from his light heavyweight run to fight Brock Lesnar, or would you rather have someone like Daniel Cormier, who we know is an avid WWE fan? I don't know if many WWE fans even realize that, but if he got the shot against Brock Lesnar, I think that would be a much better opportunity for him than to fight Volkan, who he has nothing to gain by winning that fight.
Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar is for fight nerds. John Jones versus Brock Lesnar is for everybody in the world. That is absolutely an intriguing matchup. A former heavyweight champion versus a current light heavyweight champion, and an absolute physical specimen. I know I'm intrigued by the matchup.
You seem so dismissive of Daniel Cormier. He spent a large amount of his career at heavyweight, and he's.
I think he wins against Brock Lesnar, but I don't want to pay to see it. Maybe UFC on Fox 27 or something like that. But John Jones versus Brock Lesnar, I would pay to see that. And I don't really. It's just interesting, man. It's like a video game, and that's what pay-per-views are supposed to be about.
Here's another question: if John Jones would have lost to Cormier in that fight, would Brock Lesnar? Well, would Cormier have had the opportunity to call out Brock Lesnar?
Would Cormier have had the opportunity to call out Brock Lesnar? I don't know if he would have thought of that, but he wasn't going to win that fight under what circumstances.
He did win the first 2 rounds, though.
This is just John Jones' idea. He needs to go up to heavyweight because those would be better matchups. Light heavyweights don't have the frame. Here's my theory. John Jones lacks a competent boxing game. He's not a boxer. When he gets up against people his size, he struggles because the things that he does with his length and his height and reach advantage are because the people at light heavyweight are so small. If he goes up to heavyweight and fight, he's no longer going to have that height and reach advantage. And going up against somebody like Overeem's the better striker, you know.
Oh, 100%. And those legs, those chicken legs, at some point in his career, they're going to come back to haunt him. I don't know when, but someday.
Yeah, man. And going up to heavyweight, his frame, he's got a heavyweight frame, but he's so frail that he fights at light heavyweight. It would be awesome to see him get up against a top level striker with good. But the thing is, his wrestling is so thorough. Only a guy like Overeem.
What about Miocic?
Maybe,
the
but
champ.
I think Jones could out wrestle him pretty thoroughly. I just figure that John Jones is, if you don't have a great ground game or a great wrestling game or get up game, he's going to have his way with you. I mean, look what he was doing to Daniel Cormier. That is absolutely one of the best wrestlers in the world. So, well, I guess Gustafsson, that didn't count maybe, but John Jones is the shiz. But heavyweights would give him big trouble, especially, I know what the matchup is. John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. I think I'm picking Ngannou.
Yeah, I'd pick him too. Dave, you have a say in this?
I think you guys touched on a lot of good points. I mean, John Jones he's always used his length. He's just he's got very, very high fight IQ. Possibly, I think some of the best I've ever seen. He knows kind of the way to, like, he basically knows the bylaws and the ways to kind of work the rules in his favor. Remember when he fought Glover and kept wrenching his shoulder and just the whole John Jones, like, eye poke rule, you know, where he just kind of fights with that hands open kind of style. Like, I don't feel like he purposely does it, but I feel like he kind of just does anything he can to get, like, that little 1% edge. And I think he can work a lot of the heavyweight division. I know that UFC math.
Go.
I know UFC math doesn't always translate, and kind of the point I was getting at was, you know, DC was undefeated at heavyweight. I think that Jones could kind of, you know, absolutely run amok against, like, the middling guys in the heavyweight division. I really don't know if he could really fight against the elite. I mean, I think with Overeem's chin the way it is, I think he could beat Overeem. I don't know if he could beat Miocic. And Ngannou is just. I think Ngannou is the type of guy with Jones' frame. I think he might just try and press the action, kind of go forward and try to end the fight quickly. And if he does end the fight, then maybe Jones stands a chance. But I think he's the type of guy who could, who would just try to run through Jones.
I think that's the John Jones killer right there. Francis Ngannou, super fight, light heavyweight champion versus heavyweight champion. Ngannou proves himself the best fighter in the world.
Hey, Laura, are we getting ahead of ourselves? Ngannou's got a 10-1 record in mixed martial arts, and I see what everybody else sees, but is he the second coming? I mean, is this real? Is this?
Yes.
Am I witnessing? Yeah, you think so?
This is real,
I mean, we're gonna learn something when he fights JDS. I think
he's gonna put JDS to bed.
I think he will too. I think he will. Too.
Mike and I were talking, and Mike actually had what I thought was a pretty good fight and could really be a big fight.
A getting to know you fight.
Yeah, Mike, let him know.
Well, I don't know if the UFC would be interested in this, but if they want to save John Jones at light heavyweight, keep him down there. Make the Ngannou Lesnar fight. Why not let the masses know who Ngannou is? I think he's still flying under the radar right now. And is a fight against JDS, the former heavyweight champion, is that going to open people's eyes when they see JDS starched on the canvas?
That is an awesome idea. But they're going to do Jones-Lesnar before they do Ngannou. Although that would be a great fight, Ngannou versus Lesnar. Ngannou would smash on Brock Lesnar. He would absolutely beat the piss out of him.
Oh, man. That would be an awakening for the masses. I could see people falling in love with the guy right off the bat, like a Mike Tyson-esque. The fear factor's there, and he doesn't speak English. You know, he's got a bunch of things that are kind of under the veil.
That's one guy I want to get an interview with because I speak French, so it'd be very, very wonderful to do a little interview in French with
Hook him up,
Francis Ngannou. But we got anything else to talk about? Or is that the end of is class finished for tonight?
I think considering we got the little hiatus here for a few weeks, I think we touched on a few topics that are still they got a fire under us.
Okay, so that's class is officially ended for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in to the School of Black Negro Jitsu. Got to thank my co-instructors Mike and Dave for helping me out tonight. Got to thank Michel, Capo, Quinones, and Dr. Yared Vasquez for their contributions to the pod. And we'll catch you guys next week for some more talk. If you've got any topics that you want to discuss, Twitter, just type in Black Negro Jitsu, type in Mike's MMA picks. Dave, what is your handle?
At Crisp Evolution.
Oh, there it is. Crisp Evolution. There it is. So Crisp Evolution, type it to us, hashtag Black Negro Jitsu, and we'll try and bring it up on the show. But that's all for this week, guys. Peace out.